This is Matrilineal Broadcasting Corporation. Inspired to inspire.
Mama Masizo, fellow people standards, but fellow church prayer, please, so that we open up.
Baba siyabonga sibonga lithuba lokuhlangana ngamso namhlanje sibonga baba uba usikhokhelele ezindleleni sasazofika phakathi nawe nale ndawo ngalokho sesihlangene Nkosi asibe ngaphansi kwamaphi wakho iba nathi phakathi nawe nale ndawo sibumbe okubambekayo phakathi nawe sibe lokulalelana sibe lokuhloniphana sibe nomphumela kulokho esikuhambele imango sisiza phakathi nawe nale ndawo ukuze sihlangane singabantu abadinga ulutho lunye ngokuhlupheka kwezweni lakithi engathi baba wena phakathi kwakho konke ungaba ngummeli wethu ungenele usisize usiqondise indlela usisize usipha amandla lamathuba okuthola ukuphila lesizwe sakithi egameni likaJesu Kristu amen.
Thank you very much. We are ready to begin our small workshop today. I think the main thing we see as today is the first meeting of this kind, so as my minutes for this meeting. So let's get straight into our main presentations. Okay. With my apologies, ubabu unkala, ubabu umpofu, unkanga, wabafanya apology, ubabu mabena uyaorganize. So I can listen to that today. So those are the three apologies because I think we are doing what you are that. We are apologies, but we will not. I think the importance of this meeting is that. Despite the number we are going to talk about something that will be militant and hopefully will be shared with our colleagues. I hope the presenters will be happy to allow us to share the slides with our colleagues on PEC, NPC, district chairs who were not able to make it to this meeting. Right. Instruments that are Stella Ubaba, Oma, Blanca, Ma Ereti, Akalis.
Okay, thank you. I say everyone for coming. I know it's difficult for people to take time on my schedules to attend the general meeting. We do hope as we go forward in this movement, yes, we increase the engagement, and we get everybody involved again in the politics of our country. I'd like to acknowledge the Deputy Chair for his presence and all the other dignitaries. I don't want to go through them individually. Umasis is there. Our special assignment secretary is here. He'll be also giving us a presentation, and our distinguished chair who's been running around tirelessly to make this event a success. So we've got animations at the top. The top button says animation right at the top. Right, yeah, move to the right. With a few animations. It says animations there, along the top. It's slideshow, sorry, slideshow. The play from, go to the left, say, oh, it's not showing the, okay, there's the play from the start. So yes, we're having technical difficulties, but it's teething problems.
Can I help you there? While we're having technical problems?
Yes.
I skipped it, important item. Babankara, can you lead us through my introductions?
My introductions, I think the best thing would be senza my self-introductions.
Yes.
Yeah, mbone ngani twasibalutshwane, so ulula ukuthi sizichuthi ngobani. Angiqale ngami, mina igama ngoThulani Nkala, ngisuka eSouth Coast, yikho lapho idistrict yami ibranch yami lapha ekhona. Kodwa ke ngingu secretary we-NPC e-Europe. Ngiyabonga. Aparathi ngabuyi ngapha.
But mina ngubokani Havane, current chairperson we-NPC Europe.
Thank you.
Asize kuwe baba.
Oh, I'm Chukma Blanca, the PEC chair for Europe.
Okay.
Umduduzi Ndlovu, current chair we-Birmingham district. Umduduzi Ndlovu, current chair we-Birmingham district.
All right. Oh, okay, yeah.
Samuel Nsumiro, chair we South Coast. Current.
Yeah, Mural from Gunning. I am presidential and party special assignments. Member with the Father, what that role involves. Lami, ngaphansi wa chair wami we South Coast. Yep.
My one was Banda, Senator Anton Kala, the cases of Manuel Zano, you mean by yourself.
Mina ngisamukelo Nkomo, vice chair we-PEC yase-Europe, ngise-Birmingham district. Thank you.
Namuzenzo Agnes Siziba. Chairperson when Council of Elders for Europe, Ladywood district, yase Birmingham, Mhlali Stockholm Trent.
Mina ngilokhanya Ndlovu, member ye-ZAPU, soon to be.
It's man, nginomzulu wami wakondlovu okuthiwa nguNokugana. So ngumzulu wami.
Vele mari noma. Sorry?
Yini? Ngimarbeha marnoha. Endaba nkulu ngani.
Yebo.
Izolimaza.
No.
Bona mati.
Uyakhanya but of course utak. Let me see this one. Kungalunga. I angazi wa just when all right. Yeah, qhubeke. Yeah, yakhaya.
Umfana ngowenba. Uright ekhaya.
All right.
Awuzogodola.
No kodwa siyabona but sabe izingozi
Siyasumlunguza.
Right, so, says
Hayi.
the session is going to be very interactive. Uthi singanali, yazi nase sidlile vele sichayisa ntonga esikole. Njengokuthi vele ngiyabona ukuthi ayisemseleke. Let's get to it. Okay, no, that's fine. Right, so what I'm going to ask is, what is the most important component of a political party? I'm opening it up to the floor. khona yini ukubalulekileyo ukuthi i-party siyibize sithi i-party kuyini in your own assessment of this ideology
Members.
Yeah, it's the vision of the party, which is
the vision that which runs along with ideology. I guess also there's the policy vision is also something that's important. Okay. I saw the slide.
So it's identity, which probably is the same thing.
Yes, the identity, because people have to differentiate political parties according to identity. You could have only put I'm above. But we want to select color yellow. But it's a sense of what is really using yellow paint. We want to in the age. But I see about. So we talk about leadership. It's very important in political party. Leadership is done very well. If we look at a statistical assessment of the groundwork that was covered prior to the elections, it was immense. Difficult conditions. We all know ZAPU was earmarked for death by the Ian Smith regime. And we survived that first attack. It was earmarked for death again by ZANU-PF. We again survived that death. Just about, because which is a contentious issue, which I believe at some point we probably will need to go to court for, because we were even forced into a unity accord under extreme duress with thousands of people being killed. There were more people killed in Kuground than the people that died in the entire Rhodesian War. I'm talking Abelungu, Abantu Abamnyama, army, civilians. You add that number up, it's less than the people that were killed in Kuground. So under that extreme duress, our leadership had to make that difficult decision to say, okay, we will sign whatever document you want us to sign, as long as you stop killing people. The killing stopped, but the other aspects of the maliciousness continued. We all know what all those issues are. Membership. I know people, when we talk about, when you looked at our agenda, I was briefed to talk about the status of our party in our province. And I know what people were expecting is for me to come and start reading out statistics of membership numbers and all sorts of that. I want to talk about the different status of the part of the province. Because although we're a province in Europe, we are actually an expansion of the party. So we want to talk about what is the status of ZAPU in Europe today. Because if we don't understand the status of ZAPU, we won't understand our other aspects. We won't understand our membership numbers. We won't even understand our finances or our activities if we don't understand what is the status of ZAPU in Europe today. You mentioned this one, to ideology. Can you guys, is there anybody who's willing to tell us what the ideology of ZAPU is? In your own analysis or your own thinking?
I would say it has evolved. From the beginning, it was the freedom of the black child in the land that was once called Rhodesia. So, on a bigger note, I would say they were Pan-Africanists. That's why they said the Zimbabwe African People's Union. It was bringing that was the foundation of the ideology. It had this own aspect with the freedom of a black child in Africa, in Rhodesia, what it means. It means you have your land, it means you have a right to vote, you have a right to speak. And as it progressed, now we have the ideology of we may say it has evolved. I think the challenges evolved, but the ideology is the same. Then it was the racism, now is tribalism. Then it was no-land, now is corruption. So the ideology stays the same, but the problems have changed. Maybe we might. That's what
So
I think.
this is very correct. Is there anyone else who wants to contribute, or are we all on the same page when it comes to that?
I mean, I can add with you. Currently we say our official hours is human rights. But I think you've traced it historically. Our principles as ZAPU have always been. They may change here and there, but they will remain the same. I would say ZAPU fights all forms of injustice. And that we stand for that, and that injustice in any form as ZAPU is what we stand against.
Thank you. Those are all very deep and thoughtful analysis of how our ideology is something that is not static. It evolves, like you said. So, but under all that, the foundation of our ideology is the ideology of freedom. We fought for freedoms for our people through time. The meaning of those freedoms has changed. Sadly, as everybody knows, without any margin of doubt, Zimbabweans are not free. You've got people all over the world that fled that country in search of the same principle that we were looking for under the Smith regime, the principle of freedom. And it's said that the authorities in power disguise themselves in the veil of revolutionaries, which is such an insult really for what they've done and what they continue to do, the stealing, the plundering, the taking away of people's freedoms. I mean, recently what they call the Patriotic Act or Patriotic Bill is the most disgusting piece of legislation that has been drafted by any so-called democratic nation in a very long time. And because of what happened in the 80s when there was a genocide in Zimbabwe, the people of Zimbabwe, I find it difficult to listen to people like Ufigile Mbalula when they say, why aren't Zimbabweans rising up? Why are Zimbabweans going to vote? And these insults show a gross lack of understanding for geopolitics. And coming from people who are supposed to be citizen politicians, it shows that there's obviously an ulterior motive, which I think everyone can deduce why Ufigile is so happy to snooze and cozy up with such a brutal regime. If he's so concerned about Zimbabweans, why don't we see Ufigile going to talk to the Zimbabweans in Hillbrook? If he's so concerned about Zimbabweans, why don't we see his government formulate policies that can deal with proper asylum applications for the hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of Zimbabweans crossing their borders? If Ufigile is really worried about Zimbabweans, why is he not asking Nangagwa why there are no machines in hospitals, there's no medication, the roads are decaying? Why are they blind to all of this? We can deduce what that means. And also we talk about the quality of opposition. I mean, the opposition in Zimbabwe, the political landscape is always catered for a main opposition party. We know the chronology of events, what happened. We know that after the first elections, where ZAPU stood. We know all the events that happened thereafter to try and end a multi-party state. So as we think about our status in this province, like I said, I know a lot of people are expecting data and statistics about our status. One of the main things, as we saw earlier, is that one of the biggest components of a political party is membership. But we have to ask, before we even get there, members are people who are interested in political parties. For us to understand our current status, we must also ask, why do people join political parties? Can I just ask out of interest why you guys join political? ZAPU?
That's my question that I wanted to ask you. You've stolen my question.
You can still ask
Because
Not worry.
it's because we didn't meet and
Yeah,
go
okay.
through. Okay, I won't dwell on it, but be ready with your answers for when Ukuli comes, be ready to answer that. So we've got a Professor Tim Bale. You're not going to talk about him as well, are you?
Sorry, no.
Okay. Professor Tim Bale, because we are talking about our province here in Europe. I know that, yes, our party is a Zimbabwean party, but we want members here in Europe. So we've got to understand the psyche of people who live here, of each other. You know, what drives us. Tim Bale carried out a very intensive 3-year project to understand political party membership in Britain. And this study looked at who joins or leaves political parties and why. I'm just going to play a short video from Tim Bale speaking. Speaker.
So parties. 1820 volume level. 22 volume level. 24 volume level.
Those both for finance and for voluntary work at elections. They also rely on them for a degree of legitimacy. If you have a growing membership, you're also a party that's going somewhere. But there is a lot of talk these days of people not wanting to participate in politics and also
16 volume level.
So we want to really get into the weeds and see exactly.
28 volume level.
Our research question was who are the political party members?
Information 4 on slide 3. Few people join political parties. Text menu. Information 4 on slide 3. Why do people join political parties?
Those political parties, especially the election time. Our method is to field surveys of political party members. We do this via a company called YouGov, who have an internet panel. The 6 parties that we looked at were the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, the SNP, and also UKIP, which transformed into the Brexit Party and is now Reform UK. What the research found was that members of political parties in Britain are demographically unrepresentative. That is to say, they are more middle class in their age than the electorate as a whole. They tend to come from the southern part of the country, and they tend overwhelmingly to be white rather than from the minority ethnic background. What we also found was that most members aren't that active. Indeed, 30 to 40% of political party members do absolutely nothing for their parties other than pay their subscriptions. The research has been picked up by journalists all over the UK. If ever there is a leadership election, for example, they will be using our research. We've also done presentations for the parties themselves. I'm also quite committed to publicising the research that we as university academics do, so that people get a sense of what we're doing and perhaps understand politics a little bit better than you might otherwise do.
Yeah, so
4 on slide 3.
So we can see that Professor Tim Bale, I can send everyone a link so that they can watch the full version of this video. So we live in the UK, and some of the basic data that we derive from this is that people of ethnic minorities don't really join political parties, or they join political parties in lesser numbers. We belong to an ethnic minority. So it means there's something about our lifestyles, our involvement. It might be to do that we don't really join indigenous political parties to Britain, but maybe, for example, maybe Nigerians are more concerned about their own thing. South Africans, they're either ANC or whatever, and Zimbabweans are either ZAPU or CCC. I doubt that any ZANU members. Who would want to join something? Anyway, so we've got to look at all those that data and see that how can we attract the younger people from our community to want to be interested in politics, and those that join and become members, how do we get them to participate? I mean, we know that our membership is far bigger than the people in this room today. Look at the percentage of people who are participating. It says 40% or less than average in the UK, but what is our own average of participating active members? And it says that the majority of them, they pay their subscription. For them, that's as much involvement as they want to do. But we do understand that the art of politicking requires active members. The growth of the party, in all the aspects that we mentioned at the beginning, in the membership, in the growth of the spreading of the message of our ideology, and our impact. For us to have an impact on the ground means resources and all sorts of things. For all those things to grow, we need to be active members. So I think we need to do a bit of introspection. What is the ideology of ZAPU, as we discussed earlier, and what is it that sets us apart from other parties? I mean, we know, we've mentioned all the ideologies, we know what the other parties stand for, we know what they've done historically, we know what they're currently doing. But my fear is, and I was mentioning this to the gentleman that we were traveling down, my fear is we get preoccupied with trying to project a certain image, that we forget to project who we really are. We can become too concerned with saying, let's appear this way to everybody. And then we forget to concentrate on those people that we know love ZAPU, vote for ZAPU, feel attached to ZAPU. What active engagement are we doing with those particular people? I think if we don't pay attention to our core membership or our core area where we know we get members from, we create a vacuum. When that vacuum is created, it leaves space for all sorts of people to move in and start selling different types of destructive messages. There's people who are purely opportunistic, who will come there during elections and preach certain message with a certain tone, making people feel attached to them. We know it's all lies, we know it's not true, because all these people who come and preach these messages during elections have been given a chance, and they failed those people miserably. So this is a fact. Why would we as ZAPU not pay particular attention to those people? This is a question we have to ask ourselves. It goes to the sense of who we are. Beyond the name ZAPU, Umdu quite eloquently elaborated the acronym, what it means. What political activities do we do to actively participate in the process of politics? It's very fine that we can all wear t-shirts and we can sing the songs, but what is the process of active politics? We've got 4 years to campaign. Now till the next election, 2028. The process of politics is to gain traction so that the electorate will vote for us. That's one aspect. The other process of politicking, we've got a councillor. We've got to support him to fulfill his pledges to his members. We have absolutely, as Europe, I think we stand a good chance of helping that young man to achieve great things in his tenure. When is the last time you acted for ZAPU in your community? I'm going to put this question out. In your community, when's the last time you did something in your community? This is active politics. Babamdu, when's the last time you...
Not so long ago, I think I contributed through the online to somebody who was in a tragedy.
Oh, that's a good thing, but it's sad that there's tragedies.
So I don't know if that was the last time,
Yeah.
but on a daily, advertise ZAPU online, which is a contribution.
Politics in Europe. What do our constituents need? What do they want? We've got Suella Braverman being openly racist. And this affects all our children. It affects us. It goes to the very core of our ideology. You know, we talked about the ideologies of freedom. How can you feel free in your community when such a high-level government member is preaching such strong messages of hatred towards us? So ZAPU can open our mouths and say, we should be issuing statements to say, Suella Braverman, what you said is racist, we don't condone it, and use the strongest terms against what Suella Braverman is saying and doing. We've got a problem in South Africa. ZAPU, I know, was quite vocal about that. That is active politics in our communities. And I use South Africa because it's a similar province to ours, it's a diasporan province. When is the last time you acted for ZAPU in your family?
Bought them t-shirts last weekend.
That is a good one. Because that is good marketing. So the process of selling our ideology means that we have to, every single one of us. I know it's easy. You see flyers come in the WhatsApp groups, you look at it and say, oh, it's up. But what we should, every single one of us, say there's 100 people in our group, yeah? If that flyer comes into the group and you put it in the shades in your family groups, think about, we've gone from 100 probably to 500 or 600, yeah? And if we sell our ideology and our families start to believe in what we're saying, and they share it, the growth of the message is exponential. We need to start getting into this kind of habits of saying, you know, just forwarding a message, it takes a microsecond to do it. But the impact, the accumulative impact, if all of us are on the same page of doing the same things, we can really benefit from that. We need to start changing our cultures when it comes to this. In our social circle, my social circle is mainly ZAPU. We've got teams. So we know, if I'm being honest with you, I know one fact. 99% of the people that I would regard in my social circle are either currently ZAPU or have been ZAPU at some point in their life, or they share the ZAPU ideology. They believe in freedom. They want a country that's prosperous and works. It's about how do we get the people to believe we as ZAPU can deliver our ideology. That we are the people who are qualified to do this. That we are the people who can bring some sort of meritocracy to our processes. We've lived through terrible times. You know, people just appointing each other in government. You know, people who are wholly unqualified for what they do. And what it has done to the country is shocking. You know, I mean, I know that when they did these things, they did not have the acumen to understand what it is they were doing. They thought, if we take these companies from Blawayo, no, let's take them over. Let's run them ourselves. Okay, it's a bit difficult. You know, it's because I'm always going back home every weekend. Now I'm taking the company and everything, and I'm moving it to Komto or whatever it is these companies will take it to. But what they didn't understand is that the economics of the country highly depends on a very detailed, specific logistical plan. When you talk logistics, it's about location. You've got location of farms, you've got location of manufacturing, you've got location of workers, your transport system, how it interlinks everything so that the raw materials come to certain points, the distribution of those finished products into the country and abroad. When those factories were placed where they were not just a plan to someone who said, beautiful lady, say, I put my factory. No, it was studies that were done to put them there. Bulawayo, for example, was a manufacturing hub for a reason. It's a gateway from Zimbabwe to the rest of the world. They didn't understand that by destroying Bulawayo, what they were actually doing was destroying Zimbabwe. And now for them to rectify that, they can't do it because their egos won't allow them to say, we made a mistake. Let's move everything back to where? They can't do it. They can't bring themselves to do it. Their egos are completely blinded. So finally, our current status. Do you think we in Europe are behaving as a political party? Based on the discussion that we've had. It begins with our own interactions, our communication. I think there's a lot of room for improvement when it comes to communication. Guys, we have got certain cultures that have developed in ZAPU that we need to get rid of. I'm on my knees and begging people, let's change our culture of communication. I talked about passing on messages, how we interact with each other. Politeness won't cost us anything. Let's be polite to each other. Let's be encouraging to each other. Let's just have basic respect. Like, I find that sometimes when I get direct communication, it's going to be either someone wanted to complain about something. I get very few, if any, phone calls, someone who come and say, you know what, Chairman, I was just thinking, there's a function going on in such a place, we can go and recruit some members. I don't get those kind of phone calls. When my phone rings and it's from one of us, I know, listen, I'm not happy to preach this message, but if we don't begin by being honest with ourselves, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. Let's change how we think and how we operate culturally. We must be focused on growth. And if we, and every single growth of ZAPU in Europe is not my responsibility at all. It's not the responsibility of the NPC. It's not the responsibility of the Council of Elders. It's not the specific the responsibility of the Secretary for Special Assignments, because you know if you're a portfolio holder, people tend to, we elect people, then we sit back and let's watch what they do. That's not how it works. We must be actively involved in the process of politics, each and single one of us. That's my presentation today for you about our status. It's an unanswered question because our status is not something that is stagnant. Let's go and think about who we are and what we do. I thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, the PEC Chair, for this brilliant presentation. Just to assure our members, we will bring back the presenters for question time, okay, at the end, in order to allow all the presentations to go on. In summary, this presentation has been quite stimulating. I think it challenges us. How many of us speak to their families and try and recruit them? I always feel that we can double or triple our numbers simply by inviting our family members to join the party. If you bring 3, 4, 5 members from your family, is it more difficult to recruit from our families? I do not know. Is it easier to recruit outsiders? So that's a very important point to raise there. You mentioned about the community. We need to think of the community in 2 ways. The community of our people here, and the community in general around us. What can we do as ZAPU? I think you raised the point. For us to be seen active, we should be seen commenting on things that affect our citizens in this country. We are not only here to represent people at home and let our people suffer here. So I think that is very important. I think without saying it, you're also implying that in the same manner this activism that you're talking about should also be translated to how we interact with our structures back home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Now we'd like to call upon our Council of Elders chairperson just to give us a brief summary about the opportunities and challenges that the Council of Elders faces in Europe. Just briefly, we'll give you about 5 minutes. even if it's just to say hello. That's enough. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Nice to meet you all members of ZAPU. As I have introduced myself, as the chairperson of the Council of Elders, I would like to say, for us, as the people of ZAPU, we need to activate ourselves. I thank the chair of the PEC who said we need to change our ways. We need to change our communications, how we speak to each other, how we interact with each other. However, for him, I would like to ask him to do us a favor on the basis of what he said, that he has never found or had a phone call in any of the members to call him for saying, Chair, there's a meeting at such a place or a function, let's go and recruit. On that party, I would like to say to the chair, in the province that you are leading, the people, they don't know their chair at the moment. And that is the big issue that people are talking about, the people that are, we are easily dragged, taken up, swamped by the wind. People are just like tender, I don't know why, no. But the problem is ours. We are doing this for ourselves. But you find people, they need like to be nasty like babies, I don't know. But this thing, even if you don't call a physical meeting, just call the meeting on the Zoom for everyone under your guard, because you are leading the ship. Since ever you have been elected, just to greet people and tell them who you are, tell them I am free to be communicated. Anyone who wants to communicate with me, I'm here for you. You have chosen me, because the people chose you and put you there. But you never came to them to greet them, to introduce yourself, which is the important part of all of you. There is a habit of us African people of talking in groups and behind the doors. That's who we are. But that thing doesn't get us anywhere. I think from there you will see most of the people now approaching you, calling you for that and that problem. But so far, people are thinking you're hiding from them. In the Council of Elders, we are 8 of us. I had said 7 to Baba Mugoni before, which I gave him a wrong number.
You just recruited another one, did you?
And for the most of the time, we were 3 of us, I think, active members, and the 2 of them were just members who were there by book. But Baba Mugoni gave me an idea to try and recruit more people, to try and call them in. And I did. I took his advice. I had to call all the elders I know, all the elder people, even the younger people, even into the districts. I had to send to the chairs the request. Well, however, if I had to phone somebody direct, I phoned a lot of people direct, they were giving me their excuses. Then I compiled those excuses. I said, what are all these excuses for? Most of the people were telling me they've got the positions that are not allowing them to come to the Council of Elders. Amazingly, I didn't know their positions, and they didn't even mention what positions those that are not allowing them to be in the Council of Elders. But my brother, Lawrence Siziba, when I spoke to him, he was in the cultural position before, when he handed it over to me. I was in the Secretary of Culture myself. I spoke to him and he said, sister, let me try and talk to them again, to all, give me all those numbers of the people that you approached. But he came back with them. Maybe it was my approach. He came back with them. Those are the people who filled the number that I'm mentioning now here. We are not facing any much difficulties. No, we communicate. For them to be not to be here today, actually they were prepared to go to the 19th date that was given before. All of us, we were in the team of eager to go there, unless only Baba Spanda, who have got Dennis Spanda, he had traveled to Africa. He's the one who was going to be absent. But today, Baba Masubu is at home in Zimbabwe. Baba National Mhlanga didn't give me any excuse. Siziba didn't give any excuse much. But I am thinking Nababu Bebe, well, he was tight today with the work, but he was prepared the last time he was going, but today he said, this date has hit me now. Well, it was lucky for me that I have the problems that tied me home to be found here today, which I wasn't sure after that cancellation I would attend. But sometimes when we call the meeting and put the date, let's try to not swing it, because people will be prepared and ask the time from their work schedules and schedule for that meeting, and that meeting is not there. That causes the downfall of the numbers of the people to attend, because people will be always not looking forward to the meetings only. We are living in this country, we know how it is to people. It's the love of the ZAPU. I will just answer the question for Babu Guni before he goes there to question us why you joined the ZAPU. My parents were in the ZAPU since they were moved from Felapozi to Makusini. They were dumped there to dig the dams by their hands, to create everything by their hands. I was born there in Ngai. By that time, they already started their meetings. I don't know whether I was born or that day or whatever, but that time I grew up finding them, because I was born in 1964. So when I was growing, I saw them, I found them going with these meetings around them. In the bushes, they would choose a certain bush, a tree, and they started coming into the houses as well, but that would be like something, they would be like trying to put it in a low profile, as it was the Smith people were going to come and attack them at some point. And then the time that came for me going to school, I just became myself automatically political myself. When I was going to school, Ozwimbale. And my brother, when I would be going home, would be writing a letter and put in an envelope and close it and give it to me to go and give my father. When I get home, my father had no choice to ask me, Ndombi, can you read the letter? Oh, kneel down quickly. Please, Father, can you please guide her for me? She's the only bright person like me at home. She's too political. If she just goes, this girl will disappear. If she goes, I'll kill myself. His aim was for my future. It was a good aim, but to the country, to the people, it was no gain. It didn't give anyone my brightness that he wanted to keep around. Didn't help anyone. So, Baba Mkuna, I think I've answered your question for myself. And until today, I cried tears about my country. And that brother of mine didn't manage to stop me, or that father of his didn't manage to guide me night and day. I did what I think was right. So my fellow people, sometimes when I talk, I might sound like a harsh person or a careless person. That's not who I am. I need us to fight and work together. I need us to find what we can. Yes, there are things that are dragging us on what is happening. But I pray the God we believe in will guide us the right way one day. As the Bible says. Just keep praying. He chooses these leaders who are ill-treating us and doing whatever they are doing, but they come to pass. They come to pass. Nobody knew that Mugabe will leave that city of his, the chair he was sitting on, alive. And he didn't think of it himself. But one day he woke up, and he died when he was no longer on that seat. We can still do it. But not the prayer only that can take us to that position. We need to mobilize, create some activities to encourage young people and even old people, they vote. But here we are okay, but we are not okay. But we are the strongest people to support the people back home. We need to fundraise, to find a way to put the monies together, plan together. If the chair calls tomorrow for people to say, how about a month, every member, let's put in the pocket 20 pounds. Let's not think that he's taxing us or he's taking our monies, or he's doing it for us for tomorrow. As for ZAPU, I think now, if we start this journey now, not tomorrow, now, we can go somewhere to that term of 5 years. We will be having a better thing in our pockets so that we won't be pointing fingers to each other or trying to scratch with the, oh, we have accumulated so much. So we can take so much to go and back up the people back home. That's what I ask for us people. We might be 3 today in this house, we might be 4 or 5 today. Believe me, we can do it with the love we can give to each other. It's the love. I came with some young people sometime last year or something. But the second time they came with 2 meetings in Leicester. The motivation. So the young people, they don't come again. They say, how can we follow this old woman to a ZAPU party? it was the worst thing. I even myself, I said, what's going on? What's going? But remember, Baba, when long back before in Leicester, this house was gonna be small. Few people packed. There was a vibe. Young people, grown-up people, everyone, women and now down to 3. What's going on, Mazapu? And let me not be afraid myself to be blamed of anything. As you are put in a certain position, you have to receive anything that comes to you. Just take it as oil. On this point, I'm talking to you, Mr. Chair. You are leading different people with different minds. As long as you know you are doing the right thing yourself, you calm yourself down. Don't mind what Mama Masisba said yesterday, or what Mama Masisba wrote, or what Mama Masisba phoned to someone about you. That is what you're gonna get. More and more, that is what you're gonna get. However, we are hoping and wishing that you're going to lead us. We still rely on you and depend on you. As we chose you, we've got no other minds or any other doubts. As I stand for the Council of Elders, we normally always I can say I'm waiting for anything to be brought to me from you. Then I have to work on it. Then I will show how I can work or how I can do. But I think we have got a lot of things on the air that are happening that needs to be dealt with, but we just haven't put them into the action or hasn't put them into the good strategy or direction to put that office to that and that, but there is a lot. Because what we work on is what is reported to us. And as Europe, we are a full house to work on something on our own. We will seek help when we are failing, but I think we have those rights and those authorities to deal with the situation that comes within us. I've been given 5 minutes and I've taken ×3 for that. I'm sorry, I do apologize. Thank you so much. I think I'm so anxious and encouraged to talk, and I'm so happy to meet you all. And I'm so happy to meet you all today. So for me being here, I think it gives me we can talk about everything, but we can't talk about everything. We need to do action. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus, for taking my 20 minutes, because I think I'm going to have 5 minutes, which is what I'm getting on the offer.
Right, we thank the chair of the Council of Elders. It's disappointing that because we moved the meeting, we missed the opportunity of meeting the rest of the Council of Elders. Now, from your brief speech, Ms. ZAPU, I noticed that you, I don't want to use this word, but I'll let me leave it. Okay, let me say, I think you are working, or you have been able to make the Council of Elders attractive to join. And I'm happy for that, because it seems your team is working on how can we make the Council of Elders the right place to go for the people that have reached that age. I know we're afraid to grow old. We don't want to be there because it will look like we're very old. But encourage us, okay? And I also noticed from your point again that the Council of Elders, activism, they need to see that they are actively engaged in what is happening. You've called for, if we don't report things to you, then you just sit there, there's nothing to talk about. But unless we bring things, I guess reporting to you does not mean just bringing complaints. I think it means bringing certain things that you can discuss as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for the encouraging words that you are giving to our chair, that you will give us as much support to the current chair. And I, on behalf of the NPC, would like to echo the same words. We are fully behind you. We will support you. We know the challenges that you are facing, and we will be behind you all the way. Thank you. Now I would like to call upon our main speaker, Dr. Mguni, to come and deliver the main meal. Thank you.
I was going to address you sitting down, but the chair has said I should come, which means that I should go somewhere else. Okay, good afternoon to everybody, and my gratitude for this day. This day, I yearned so much for it, because it is only when we engage that we make this part to grow. Let me start off with the protocols, to thank the chair of the NPC, who actually grabbed that, the chair of the province, the chair of the district. Good. Do you see what is happening here? The meeting is made of chairs. The chair of the Council of Elders. And it is something that says something, doesn't it? That we call a meeting. That meeting was actually like open to everybody, and only the heads have actually turned up. And also, it is something, so that thank you, and thank also, everybody who's actually hosted us. The whole, the meeting has been moved from Leicester to Birmingham, and the reason was to do with capacity. I didn't know that what he meant was that the holy Leicester is too big for the people that will be coming. Now, there are two of us short of what Jesus, when he started the church, he had 12 apostles, there are 10 of us today. Yeah? But look at what happened to the church. Sometimes less is more. And let us actually, let's not despise the fact that there are but few people. That's a sitcom. A lot of churches, they say, the seed. I'm meandering. I've changed my presentation, because my presentation...
To say, okay guys, you're in the diaspora, we're happy you're working, you remittance a lot of money. At some point, we know you've trained, you've lived in other societies. If you're going to bring your skills back to Zimbabwe, this is how we'll incentivize you. If you're a doctor, if you're coming to Zimbabwe, this is a package we'll have for you. If you're a social worker, if you're a nurse, we need them to incentivize us to come home. Zimbabwe needs our skills, and the Zimbabwean government should show that they understand that Zimbabwe needs our skills. We also asked for a blanket amnesty for Zimbabwean asylum seekers. Look, so many people have lived for far too long with no papers. We want a blanket amnesty. We've been taken on the merry-go-round for so many years, and we know it's an absolute nonsense, and it's just politics. They should grant us absolutely that amnesty. It should happen. It really should. And ZAPU should be lobbying for this. So there's a certain generation that fits within this frame of these things we're asking for. But the reality is the youth don't fall under any of these things. So when we now talking about youth, where do you think you're going to get people coming? ZAPU barbecue. I'm a piano. So we need to think about these things. Let's give them what they want. They enjoy music. They enjoy having a good time. Why do we want them to come and suffer hours and hours of meetings, talking about policy? They won't come. That's the reality. We're talking about our merchandise. We're trying to move, as you can see, we're trying to move in a certain direction with our merchandise. And the stuff that you can wear even if you're not going to a ZAPU meeting. I'm not going to say, They'll be like, no, this is a
You gave it to me,
competition.
that's why
You
you're
understand what I mean? We need to start thinking about the youth in that way. So I think we've got enough players in the party to make these things happen. We just have to push forward. And I think what things are for saying, that Sibe loose.
Yeah.
Sibe loose, someone to be
You can see where I'm going with this. I want us to have a takeaway from this meeting to say this is what we are going to actually be generating. If I can just be part of your group like that, in as much as I would never be arrogant to say we know what the youth want. I would go and say, set up something to research what because it's an ever-moving spectrum. And when it was the Tiong, you know what I mean? And there is also a saying, maybe actually use the most topical one, of people actually sort of, what do we do? What are the steps that you think we should do? Because that will possibly feed into what our council will do. Could you just actually sort of talk about? And please use the example. Some of you know that it was a difficult one, where the person that actually was misbehaving was the chair of, of the province. Can you tell us, so that we are on the same page, what should be done in those circumstances? Would you know?
You can go train.
Yeah, punctuality.
So when
It is challenging, but that's where that
maybe the person should
I won't be able, I'm not my lap, that's why I won't be able
to enforce our policies. Not just this big we follow the
So, Mr.
Not at first opportunity, that depends on severity. Maybe let's say for instance, I think there are
Okay, let us actually come together. Here is an education part. Now, what I was supposed to actually talk to was what the NPC does, what the PEC does, what the Council of Elders. I'll just mention it in passing. I think that sort of information needs to be when we actually are doing a workshop for the particular structures, because if I started to talk everything about the Council of Elders, other people won't be interested in that. Now, okay, this is important. I chose that scenario because these are the issues that our Council of Elders are going to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But is there Wi-Fi? Is it? Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. So can you keep this? Is that the one? That's the one. Yeah, that one isn't there. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with the chair. Chair, what would you actually in the situation your group, because these are very important issues that we're going to deal with day to day.
So what we spoke about was, it's not really an issue of that one aspect to say we're dealing with discipline. It's about, can we as a party conform to policies and procedures outside the spectrum of just discipline? Can we follow procedure? What time was this meeting meant to start today? What time did it actually start? You know, you spoke about...
They're putting more problems.
We've got to professionalize.
Yeah, okay.
We have to professionalize how we operate. The other problem, example we can give is platforms. Where do we platform things? You talked about, earlier on you said, okay, there has to be ways that we do things that is correct. It doesn't matter if you're the party president, it doesn't matter who you are. You were talking about people who want to communicate directly with the president, and that's outside the realms of policy and procedure. It's the same as raising grievances. If you want to raise a grievance against myself, there's a policy and a procedure to do it. There's a platform to do it as well. You don't just rock up and start airing your personal feelings. It's not professional, and it shows that you've got no boundaries. We have to have boundaries in place. As a party, we can't choose to be professional on certain things. And then when it comes to where we're comfortable with it, we can't operate like that. Let's be professional in all aspects. Professionalism breeds respect for each other. And I'll know that this person is not ever going to push boundaries against me. There's no reason for me to push boundaries. Let's just do what we came to do for ZAPU. This is not personal to anybody. It is a party for the Republic of ZAPU. Policy and procedures. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, let's take that particular situation where there has been an infringement. What are the steps? I think we're gonna, let's take Ngapushia where NPC. What? Could you guide us? And you'll see why we are actually doing that, by the way.
Yeah, Tina see where lama points, 1 point actually sivumelane ngayo ukuthi nxa kule repeat offender ku social media, for example, depending on the severity of ukuthi infringement yakhona nxa kuyintamba, for example, umuntu wakhona ekhitshwe ka1 and nxa ekhitshwa khona phana from a platform ekhitshwe and then admin maybe the organizing bekhulume layo, not uchair ekhulume la eceleni, and then nxa ekwanisa ukuthi come to his senses and then ebesebuyisela back ku platform. But nxa kungumuntu lwana just causing havoc just for the sake of it, and sivumelana ukuthi sihlezi ezindini lapha ku social media kuthiwa ngama keyboard warriors. You don't know ukuthi umuntu lwana uyenzani, ubhemeni unatheni khona lapha khona. So you've got to take that into account as well, ukuthi maybe umuntu lwana vele he thrives on that havoc causing lokuzen. So umuntu lwana ukuthi kufanele simkhiphele eceleni, sikhulume la eceleni. But I think khona pasivumelana ngawo because mina, for example, I don't believe ukuthi like case yabakhona not so long ago ukuthi umuntu wakhona ukukhitshwa nje kuphela like that. For me, mina angibona ngoyinto right. So ikhwade sesiwu.
Okay. Okay, your group, Bob.
Sorry, ngicela uku-add khona ukuthi into elikhulunywe noma angiyazi ikheso okhuluma ngayo, but ngibona into scenario efana nale you might need ukuthi sibe ne-disciplinary committee. Uma umuntu ekhithiwe, then kune-disciplinary committee ezodeala nale situation. Bamkhuphile bazokhuluma naye uma kuyikuthi bekuyi-something maybe misunderstanding, then umuntu uyakulethwa back yabo ukuxolisa ukuthi uthi sesikhulume la that problem has been solved. Because abantu ngaba main group ingabuya yenze ukuthi igroup yokusolve ama problems. At the end of the day yagcina isilahla i-direction, the purpose of the group. That's my
I think constitution, the Council of Elders is the one that handles disciplinary.
Yeah. I am rushing this. Let me see what the Council of Elders would want. Obviously, I gave you a very broad spectrum and batted something, and then perhaps I will guide you as far as.
Even what is up, it was a happy outcome because it's up. I couldn't partner and it's no president. Who president? Thina into kufanele siyenze la ukuthi isikhathi lesikhulu kufanele sizokusiza president. Upresident uhambe nabantu emaphandleni, uhambe kwindawo. Lo hamba nabantu ahlala ukuthi bayifuna ufuna sonke. Awunandaba le position uyakufuna ukuthi wasihambisa sekhamela futhi namaphansi ngezinto ethi ngiyamasawo kube nabantu abangena emashwaleni. Singene abantu uma usiyafika i-half term selukwazi ukuthi izaphu ikhokhelwa ngubani njengamanje then bakufuna So assignment sequence is our obligation on that us. There's not giving all this obligation to one individual or president. Assignment will be just as
Thank you. Thank you so much. And okay,
Please, Father, can you please guide her for me? She's the only bright person like me at home. She's too political. If she just goes, this girl will disappear. If she goes, I'll kill myself. His aim was for my future. It was a good aim, but to the country, to the people, it was no gain. It didn't give anyone my brightness that he wanted to keep around. It didn't help anyone. So, Baba Mkuni, I think I've answered your question for myself. And until today, I cried tears about my country. And that brother of mine didn't manage to stop me, or that father of his didn't manage to guide me night and day. I did what I think was right. So my fellow people, sometimes when I talk, I might sound like a harsh person or a careless person. That's not who I am. I need us to fight and work together. I need us to find what we can. Yes, there are things that are dragging us on what is happening. But I pray the God we believe in will guide us the right way one day. As the Bible says. Just keep praying. He chooses these leaders who are illustrating us and doing whatever they are doing, but they come to pass. They come to pass. Nobody knew that Mugabe will leave that city of his, the chair he was sitting on, alive. And he didn't think of it himself. But one day he woke up, and he died when he was no longer on that seat. We can still do it. But not the prayer only that can take us to that position. We need to mobilize, create some activities to encourage young people and even old people, they vote. But here we are okay, but we are not okay. But we are the strongest people to support the people back home. We need to fundraise, to find a way to put the monies together, plan together. If the chair calls tomorrow for people to say, how about a month, every member, let's put in the pocket 20 pounds. Let's not think that he's taxing us or he's taking our monies, or he's doing it for us for tomorrow. As for ZAPU, I think now, if we start this journey now, not tomorrow, now, we can go somewhere. To that term of 5 years, we will be having a better thing in our pockets so that we won't be pointing fingers to each other or trying to scratch with the, oh, we have accumulated so much. So we can take so much to go and back up the people back home. That's what I ask for us people. We might be 3 today in this house, we might be 4 or 5 today. Believe me, we can do it with the love we can give to each other. It's the love. I came with some young people sometime Leicester, is it last year or something? But the second time they came with 2 meetings in Leicester, the motivation. So the young people, they don't come again. They say, how can we follow this old woman to a ZAPU party? It was the worst thing. I even myself, I said, what's going on? What's going on? But remember, Baba Mkuni, long back before we Leicester, this house was going to be small. Few people packed. there was a vibe. Young people, grown-up people, everyone, women in now down to 3. What's going on, Mazapu? And let me not be afraid myself to be blamed of anything. As you are put in a certain position, you have to receive anything that comes to you. Just take it as oil. On this point, I'm talking to you, Mr. Chair. You are leading different people with different minds. As long as you know you are doing the right thing yourself, you calm yourself down. Don't mind what Mama Masizba said yesterday, or what Mama Masizba wrote, or what Mama Masizba phoned someone about you. That is what you're gonna get. More and more, that is what you're gonna get. However, we are hoping and wishing that you're going to lead us. We still rely on you and depend on you. As we chose you, we've got no other minds or any other doubts. As I stand for the Council of Elders, we normally always I can say I'm waiting for anything to be brought to me from you. Then I have to work on it. Then I will show how I can work or how I can do. But I think we have got a lot of things on the air that are happening that needs to be dealt with, but we just haven't put them into the action or hasn't put them into the good strategy or direction to put that office to that and that, but there is a lot. Because what we work on is what is reported to us. And as Europe, we are a full house to work on something on our own. We will seek help when we are failing, but I think we have those rights and those authorities to deal with the situation that comes within us. I've been given 5 minutes and I've taken times 3 for that. I'm sorry, I do apologize. Thank you so much. I think I'm so anxious and encouraged to talk, and I'm so happy to meet you all. And I'm so happy to meet you all today. So for me being here, I think it gives me we can talk about everything, but we can't talk about everything. We need to do action. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, for taking my 20 minutes, because I think I'm going to have 5 minutes, which is what I can only offer.
Right, we thank the chair of the Council of Elders. It's disappointing that because we moved the meeting, we missed the opportunity of meeting the rest of the Council of Elders. Now, from your brief speech, Ms. ZAPU, I noticed that you, I don't want to use this word, but I'll let me leave it. Okay, let me say, I think you are working, or you have been able to make the Council of Elders attractive to join. And I'm happy for that, because it seems your team is working on how can we make the Council of Elders the right place to go for the people that have reached that age. I know we're afraid to grow old. We don't want to be there because it will look like we're very old. But encourage us, okay? And I also noticed from your point again that the Council of Elders, activism, they need to see that they are actively engaged in what is happening. You have called for, if we don't report things to you, then you just sit there, there's nothing to talk about. But unless we bring things, I guess reporting to you does not mean just bringing complaints. I think it means bringing certain things that you can discuss as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for the encouraging words that you are giving to our chair, that you will give us as much support to the current chair. And I, on behalf of the NPC, would like to echo the same words. We are fully behind you. We will support you. We know the challenges that you are facing, and we will be behind you all the way. Thank you. Now I would like to call upon our main speaker, Dr. Mguni, to come and deliver the main meal. Thank you.
I was going to address you sitting down, but the chair has said I should come, which means that I should go somewhere else. Okay, good afternoon to everybody, and my gratitude for this day. This day, I yearned so much for it, because it is only when we engage that we can make this part to grow. Let me start off with the protocols, to thank the chair of the NPC, who actually grabbed that, the chair of the province, the chair of the district. Good. Do you see what is happening here? The meeting is made of chairs. The chair of the Council of Elders. And it is something that says something, doesn't it? That we call a meeting. The meeting was actually like open to everybody, and only the heads have actually turned up. And also, it is something, so that thank you, and thank also, everybody who's actually hosted us. The whole, the meeting has been moved from Leicester to Birmingham, and the reason was to do with capacity. I didn't know that what he meant was that the only Leicester is too big for the people that will be coming. Now, there are two of us short of what Jesus, when he started the church, he had 12 apostles. There are 10 of us today. Yeah? But look at what happened to the church. Sometimes less is more. And let us actually, let's not despise the fact that there are but few people. That's a sitcom. A lot of churches, they say, the seed. I'm meandering. I've changed my presentation, because my presentation presumed somebody had said there were going to be 50 people. And therefore, we've ended up with this. I'm not despising what we've got. But what I'm saying is that you've got to adapt to whatever situation you find yourself in. Now, when I come to places, we come to meetings like this, I'm saying to myself, what is the takeaway? What is my colleague here going to take away from this meeting? And that is the adaptation that I've actually made is going to be like the chairs. It's going to be very much interactive, hopefully with some points that from this nucleus of 10. Now, the 12 apostles, how the church, Christianity grew. Anybody knows the story of how the church grew? No? It started from a place called Joppa, the early Christians of Joppa. There were very few. They were persecuted, and they were hiding. But it is the manner, I think that the chair have been emphasizing the civility that we should interact with each other. That is important. But things like that chair are not in our own active disposition. It's not something that you ask people to. You put systems in place to ensure that those systems work. Now, I'm coming straight to what Umama Mrs. Zibai said. The communication, when my inaugural meeting, I think I'm the longest serving person in the NEC at the moment, because I was there in 2010 and I'm still there now, is communication. When I spoke to the chair, I said to them, there is something that has been killed. If I hear that the chair of the NPC, the chair of the Council of Elders, the chair of the PEC just meet ad hoc as they feel. That is really, really sad. There should be a schedule, a regular schedule. If you look, there is something that's called a schedule of meetings that I drafted some time ago. Well, the first week is going to be branches. The second week has got to be districts. The third week is the PEC. Those meetings will be cyclical. South Africa, I think we did actually put it here, and it died. And when it died with party. And then the fourth week, that's not an executive, Mrs. actually, this actually arose. Our late President DD called Ugwede Mantashe, was the SG of the ANC, and said, we have got to meet some Germans, and could you please arrange, Ulo Uzuraf is coming, and then Ugwede said, who's that? He knew who it was. It was the president of ZAPU telling that. And then he stopped him and said, do you know what? You know our communication. You do not come to me. You go to the SG. That is how it is actually. It's wrong for anybody to be actually sort of communicating with the president of ZAPU about the issues of ZAPU in a province. It's wrong. The communication has got to go the right way. If we communicate across, you possibly sort of, somebody would remember, when the DG came over here sometime, I was arranging something, and UDT was making other arrangements, they do later on something like that, sort of, it was wrong, and it caused a clash. Our communication, and I'll allude to those afterwards, have got to follow the correct way. If we start to crisscross our communications, and if the chairs are meeting, that will not arise, because you'll see what the communication side of ZAPU is like. You talk about challenges that, and to do with growth. He was there. When we started here in ZAPU, we had a mighty problem. What happened is that there is another group that set itself up as an alternative to the PAC. Yeah? And at that moment, at that time, we had about 83 members. I don't know whether they were paid up or they were not paid up, but that's the information that we got. 83 members. And we started to go to work with communication, with everything being set in place. After 10 months, we had 968 members. Leicester was mentioned, had about 100 and, was it 100?
Just the biggest.
It was huge. Comrades, what am I saying? We can do it. Small is not, that's a good start. You don't start with a big seed, otherwise, okay, here is the exercise that I'm taking from the share, and I'll drop a name afterwards, and it stays within this present. Okay? We're coming out. We are not satisfied with the size that we are. Okay? We're coming out, we say that if another meeting is called, we've got to have 10 times the number of people. We've got 10 of us, we want 100. 3 of you, 3 and 3. Could you say to yourselves, what are you saying to the people? People that perhaps, but Zimbabwe is not made of this development. You know what I mean? If you say we are coming from here, what's the takeaway? What are we going to be saying to the people? The 150 odd parties in Zimbabwe, what are you saying to them to come and join ZAPU for? What is it that you say, leave the other 154 parties, come to us? 3 of you, 3, and then let's actually sort of have that caucus. I'll give you 5 minutes, those are the 5 minutes I was talking about, and then let us actually sort of, yeah, what are we saying? What are we saying? Why are people going to come to us and say, I want to come to this? What are you going to actually give to them? Could you sort of form yourselves and say, what are we going to say to them?
Yep. You kind of like Mr. Senior, and nice meeting you, Mr. Senior. What do you think?
Fine.
Why is he losing? Why is he MTC? Why are we not better positioned?
At the end, I will do the hygiene meeting to give the organization when you are later on at the end.
So not bad. Right, from my point of view, is that right? So that's one. Number two, when I think
now we should figure out I was
we might be
I thank you.
That's why
Mrs. Lestrades.
Because
Mrs. Lee Pop.
so in other words, in the kind of that
so good to did the
Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Everybody will have to come and answer with an answer.
So it's still the same thing in history. Still a proof of how we united people. Still a proof of a vision that we try to achieve. After that, so forgiveness. We never asked for it.
We're forgiving. It's a point.
Because what kind of especially like I guess people want us to be China. People want us to be but that's not who we are. Even if it's not what's your China? See, that's which one is our okay, very interesting.
Okay. Okay, if you stay within that, I'd like we've got a proper share. What is it now? What is this? But this is an exercise that the PPC will have to actually carry out, to sit down and strategize. Have you ever heard of the WIF factor?
Yes.
What's in it for me? Gladys Mapira. Could you tell us about Gladys Mapira?
Gladys Mapira was a member of Investigations who was an asylum seeker at the time, and the party worked so hard, so hard to support her case. So students that I see was afforded the point where she was being deported, and everybody in the province, leadership stood up and fought her case, and she was not deported.
And then immediately after she got her status, she left the party. Now, what am I saying here, friends, is this. If we're going to grow this party, we have got to, When Jesus met the blind person, he didn't say, "Oh, what a pity you're blind. Come here, let me make you see." He never said that. He said, "What would you want me to do for you?" And people said, "Is he a fool? Can't you see that this blind?" We go to people and we assume that the youth like this, we assume that the women like this. We have to find a relevance in people's lives. Now, when I was chair, I'm sorry, all those years, one thing that we identified was that there was an issue of people coming to this country and not getting a status. We went to Ilobuza, UKBA, and we spoke to a few individuals, and I wrote a letter, and those people, anybody applying for asylum, just took that letter, and all the courts in the land were told that these people have got this special situation. When I came back 4 or 5 years ago, that letter was being used by MDC. The ZAPU had completely forgotten about that letter. But what I'm saying is that we are saying it's difficult for us to get people to come to us because we are not using the WIF-M factor. Can you tell us, what did you, because we're going to share this and then we're going to have a short discussion about it and then move on. What did you say we can do to actually sort of try to entice people to come and join us?
The main thing is preaching or spreading the word about ZAPU. What ZAPU is, what ZAPU stands for. So we can tell them our history, which is a proof and demonstrate that we are a party of unity. We're non-racial, non-tribal, we're part of unity. Our history demonstrates that, and it demonstrates that we've had ZAPU people have an intelligence to select intelligent people to a point that those people managed to differentiate between propaganda and propaganda from ZANU-PF and the constitution, to a point where ZAPU is not holding a grudge over Mashonaland people. They know it wasn't tribal. It was used, the ZANU used tribalism part. So that's the intelligence of the leadership we have within ZAPU. We're a nationalist party, which is part of our history. It's a proof that we stand behind it. We have proof. We're not just talking. Everything that we're preaching, we have demonstrated before. Do you want to add why people should join this up?
If we're going to take something out of this, really let's absolutely say things that we think are going to impact. The youngster is running possibly with something, a spear in his nose, and then you're saying, we need some youth. This is who we are. And Mama says, if I sorry to actually keep saying, brought some youth in here. That's another thing that we have problems with, isn't it? People coming and actually going from the front door and coming out through the kitchen. We have a hemorrhaging situation where people are going through. I said, this is not what I really had put down. I'll come back to the structure and the organogram of the party, but I thought that this meeting needs to actually bring this out to us. We want to say we're going to actually attract people. We want to say we're going to retain people. We've got to come out of here saying, would that actually sort of bring the youngster with a spear, or whatever it is they put in, whatever they put in, things like that, would it attract that youngster to come to Uguti? This is Buwe. That is the contribution. I'm not critiquing what you're saying. I'm just actually sort of, let's think about this. What did the chair and What did you think that we can do?
So, he came up with a very radical concept. He said with ZAPU, you don't really need to differentiate yourselves because people already know who we are. And then he gave an example of what he the problem izifuyo zingena igama ezimsweleyo izifuyo lezona ngumelusi ungazikota wena uhambe yini ufike uzeluse kuhle inkomo zethu, you won't have a problem nenkomo zakho ezabe sezizele zezilamatholi ikufika udinda kuphela ufake isidindo sakho uregister inkomo zakho. So which goes back to the concept of youth, especially lapha ediaspora abancane, izinkomo ezikhuleleka ke zifuna ukweluswa kuhle izifaka yiko kade zithi so nxa ekhuluma lami ngidinda nje youth ifunani cheese hayi lapho ukhulumile.
So what's the real plan of fathering cheese?
Izaphu isidindo sezaphu na ZAPU.
Incidentally, just to show you how old I've been in the party now. Do you know that a resolution was taken with NPC in 2013? When you're going to a ZAPU meeting, nobody should go and you were going to be fined for it. It was after, you see, all these things get lost along the way. Now, the hope was that when you're walking across like that, people say, oh, what is that? You know what I mean? And then you could actually start your recruitment. Sorry, I just wanted to put it. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to which says what does that actually mean? So I think we as the PEC, one of the first resolutions we made when we were elected was to engage on an active mobilization of youth. It's unfortunate that as soon as we were elected, then the election was announced, so many things fell by the wayside. For example, Uba Unkomo was working on this field day for ZAPU. I know Mom says he was saying that people don't know who you are, they need to meet you. All that was planned. We were talking budgets, we were working towards that direction of having this family fun day. We intentionally didn't want it to be a meeting because people don't come to meetings. We wanted to make it a fun day, we will meet, yes, people can meet the chair, but it was also not going to be only ZAPU people can come. Because we also wanted to say, okay, there'll be barbecues, there'll be family things to be done there, there'll be a table for registering membership. It's a ZAPU day, you know what I mean? We were looking for venues, we were deciding, is it going to be the Midlands, down south, wherever we think is going to give us the best response. But like I said, election came, we couldn't ignore it, and I know.
Stop apologizing. No. That is something that is still in the bill.
Yes, it's still in the works. It's still in the works. We just have to reframe it and sort it out.
Yeah.
I do think that we do have a real chance of recruiting our youth. We know what our youth want. You talked about Zama paper before. There's a certain generation that had concerns about Zama paper, which is why if you go and read the manifesto, which we contributed to, you will see that our manifesto talks about ZAPU pledging to the diaspora. It's never been in any of our manifestos before. So we pledged to lobby for the right to vote, because we want to be able to vote in this way. But we don't want to be something that our leaders talk about. It must be something that is in our manifesto, in our policy, that ZAPU is fighting for the right to vote. Lobbying itself is a specific skill that we need to cultivate, but we want to lobby for such things. Also, there's this dual citizenship thing. People say it's already there. It's not really, if you look at the nitty-gritty of it. We want real dual citizenship so that when we travel, when we avoid these unnecessary taxes that they try and put on us and all this other nonsense. We also want to get a parliamentary or ministerial representation. There should be a minister for diaspora in Zimbabwe. You understand? There should be parliamentary representation for us. We contribute enough to the fiscus of Zimbabwe that we should have that representation. I'll be very quick. I'm aware that.
No. It's not the time. I'm just actually timing myself. I was given 30 minutes, and I just.
We also wanted. We also asked for a permanent import duty waiver. It's ridiculous that as constituents of Zimbabwe, when you also take import to service, not take what down. So for me, as we anyone talking about because it doesn't make any sense. We are being treated so unfairly. So we want a permanent import duty waiver status in Zimbabwe. And such things like airport tax, that needs to go. We also want tax credit. If I say, look, I've got £50,000, I'm going to invest that in Zimbabwe, we want tax credits for that from the Zimbabwean government. They should look at our contribution a bit more respectfully. They don't really respect what we contribute to the GDP of the country. We want the Zimbabwean government to have a returnee incentive policy. To say, okay guys, you're in the diaspora, we're happy you're working, you remittance a lot of money. At some point, we know you've trained, you've lived in other societies. If you're going to bring your skills back to Zimbabwe, this is how we incentivize you. If you're a doctor, if you're coming to Zimbabwe, this is a package we'll have for you. If you're a social worker, if you're a nurse, we need them to incentivize us to come home. Zimbabwe needs our skills, and the Zimbabwean government should show that they understand that Zimbabwe needs our skills. We also asked for the blanket amnesty for Zimbabwean asylum seekers. Look, so many people have lived far too long with no papers. We want a blanket amnesty. We've been taking on a merry-go-round for so many years, and we know it's an absolute nonsense, and it's just politics. They should grant us absolutely that amnesty. It should happen. It really should. And ZAPU should be lobbying for this. So there's a certain generation that fits within this frame of these things we're asking for. But the reality is the youth don't fall under any of these things. So when we now talking about youth, we're looking at a completely different package. I'll tell you now, we can call 2 meetings and we say ZAPU, how do you want, we say ZAPU Day, come let's talk politics, yeah, for youth. And do another one and say ZAPU Amapiano Festival. Where do you think you're going to get people coming? ZAPU Barbecue, Amapiano. So we need to think about these things. Let's give them what they want. They enjoy music, they enjoy having a good time. Why do we want them to come and suffer hours of meetings, talking about policy? They won't come. That's the reality. We're talking about our merchandise. You know, we're trying to move, as you can see, we're trying to move in a certain direction with our merchandise and stuff that you can wear even if you're not going to ZAPU meeting. And you'll be like, no, this is a ZAPU t-shirt. You understand what I mean? We need to start thinking about the youth in that way. So I think we've got enough players in the party to make these things happen. We just have to push forward. And I think what James are saying,
you can see where I'm going with this. I want us to have a takeaway from this meeting to say this is what we are going to actually be generating. If I can just be part of your group like that, in as much as I would never be arrogant to say we know what the youth want. I would go and say, set up something to research what because it's an ever-moving spectrum. And when it was the Tiong as we like, you know what I mean? And there is also a saying, meet people at the point of their need. Once you've established their needs, you know what I mean? Usiziva was crying himself hoarse when we were actually up, sort of campaigning on devolution. And Lucy Ziba was there, one of the people that was actually for campaigning. He said, leave it devolution. People are not talking devolution, people are talking about grounding. So, but that's devolution, devolution. You know what I mean? We thought we knew what people wanted. People didn't want devolution. They wanted to ground their locals and guy. So that is, let us now come to the chair of the, you know, welcome Ulogu to DSG, DSG, by the way. Hope you're feeling better now. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Good to see you. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I think you want to say it feels much better now that he's in this out of me.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right. So we deliberated why people should come to ZAPU, and we know that we've talked about provincial level, district level. We kind of looked at it from a national level. If we were to convince people that back home, why should we join ZAPU? So we were like, is ZAPU on its own? The first point was, we are the real alternative. So we're the real alternative in the fact that in the beginning, and for sure, ZAPU achieved its actually objective of freeing Zimbabweans. And we know what to do if we get into government. My colleague here was like, I said, how about CCC? They could say the same thing. And his way was like, no, CCC is acting more or less like ZANU. So kind of a ZANU-lite act. So we are the real alternative. Now, the other thing, I said, which is a principle, ZAPU's principle, ZAPU's ideology. It's easy to commit to an ideology. It's easy to commit to a principle. And most of the people, even it means they're committed to that thing, which you won't find in most of these other political parties. So as a CCC member, what exactly are you committed to? Maybe to removing ZANU and maybe putting Chalisa as president. So, the other thing is that we have expertise, and I think we touched upon it. We might be a small group as ZAPU, but we have the expertise in leadership. Militarily, Silai experience. Politically, Silai experience. Administratively, Silai experience. And I think parties like OCCC, if they were really clever, they would ignore Nganebet and take advantage of what we have and what we offer to help them. Maybe which will and now okay, again you touched on that point. We said we are the only party that is 100% against tribalism. When we put it in the place which we want historically and up to now. Okay, I can give an example. MRP is a lovely party. Yeah? But MRP wants to know. Okay? ZANU is not even ashamed to be tribal. They're even proud that they're tribalists. ECCC is 50-50, but they're very tribal. They won't say anything who kind of bumming up in a tribalism, but they are. But ZAPU stands to principle of which Tina we are against tribalism. Another point again to explain with ZAPU should adopt the broad church mentality. We say we are hemorrhaging. We hemorrhage MRP. Why did we lose people from Abattoir from MRP? Because they had certain needs or certain things that they wanted the party to stand for. Tina, as a party, we just said no.
We were afraid.
Right? Maybe going forward, we should be thinking the party should allow for different groupings and expressions of different thoughts. Siba nature within. Singabe Puma Pan. Bahlale phakathi baphrase bapresente ithi ukuthi bafunani kuyina ukuthi challenge but within. So if acted as a broad church like that, we can even extend it. Kulamanye single issue campaigns. Green thing. If you have green, come to ZAPU and do your green thing inside. Okay?
You know, in the green issues in our manifesto.
So if you feel about specified from the broad church point of view.
This is going to be a discussion. DSG, what we're here, we're saying, we're leaving this place. We want to actually have that exponential growth that has been spoken about. of 83 turning to 968 in 10 months is what happened. And it's happened before under very challenging circumstances. We say, what are we taking from here? When another meeting is called, instead of having, oh, by the way, you are 11th and we needed one more and would have been the 12 apostles of Christ who Christ. Oh, so 12, we are 12. Okay, the 12 of us. But anyway, you made our day by doing that. We want to a proper takeaway. I hope that Comrade Chair, somebody is taking these ideas. When we are isolated where we are, and you're saying, I've got to go here, coming, a neighbor for them to be attracted to ZAPU, they will say, why ZAPU out of the 155? What is it that you've got? What's the X factor that you're calling me into your party for? And we've got to actually have that. Because people assume we are Zimos, you know what I mean? People don't. And that is what, as leaders, we've got to be tackling. Now, the next one is going to be a very, very short one, I hope. And then afterwards, I'll show you the organogram and actually tell you about the communication systems of ZAPU. Part of the reason that you find we've got problems like this is because we have got systems, we have got people are going on the football field and playing, there are no rules. Everybody does what they want. That is what we've got to, yeah. The next is just, I'm going to say 2 minutes discuss. And then for our Council of Elders, for our chair. Okay. Great misdemeanors. People are doing something. Let me give, there are 2 examples. One of them is a real one. Some of you will remember. The chair of the province does something that is completely unacceptable. The second, which you can discuss, is people are misbehaving on platforms. What should, because one thing that makes people to come in the door and go out is they come into the house and found you know what I mean? Yeah? Yes. What do we do as a party? What are the steps that we should? Could you take 2 minutes, because afterwards I want to present the organogram. The chair wants to give questions to ask, because there are things that you brought which you actually. Okay. Could you, is 3, sorry? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I think you want to say it feels much better that now that he's in this out of me.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right. So we deliberated why people should come to ZAPU, and we know that we talked about provincial level, district level. We kind of looked at it from a national level. If we were to convince people that back home, why should they join ZAPU? So we were like, is ZAPU on its own? The first point was, we are the real alternative. So we're the real alternative in the fact that in the beginning, and for sure, ZAPU achieved its actually objective of freeing Zimbabweans. And we know what to do if we get into government. My colleague here was like, I said, how about CCC? They could say the same thing. And his way was like, no, CCC is acting more or less like ZANU. So kind of a ZANU-lite act. So we are the real alternative. Now, the other thing, I said, which is a principle, is principle, is ideology. It's easy to commit to an ideology. It's easy to commit to a principle. And most of the people, even it means they're committed to that thing, which you won't find in most of these other political parties. So as a CCC member, what exactly are you committed to? Maybe to removing ZANU and maybe putting Chalisa as president. So, the other thing is that we have expertise, and I think we touched upon it. We might be a small group as ZAPU, but we have the expertise in leadership. Militarily, Silai experience. Politically, Silai experience. Administratively, Silai experience. And I think parties like OCCC, if they were really clever, they would ignore Winganebet and take advantage of what we have and what we offer to help them. Maybe which will and now okay, again you touched on that point. We said we are the only party that is 100% against tribalism. When we put it in place, which one historically and up to now. Okay, I can give an example. MRP is a lovely party, yeah, but MRP wants to know. Okay, ZANU is not even ashamed to be tribal. They're even proud that they're tribalists. ECCC is 50-50, but they're very tribal. They won't say anything who kind of bumming up in a tribalism, but they are. But ZAPU stands to principle which Tina we are against tribalism. Another point I get to explain with ZAPU should adopt the broad church mentality. We said we are hemorrhaging. We hemorrhage MRP. Why did we lose people from Abattoir from MRP? Because they had certain needs or certain things that they wanted the party to stand for. Tina, as a party, we just said no.
We were afraid.
Right? Maybe we, going forward, we should be thinking the party should allow for different groupings and expressions of different thoughts. Siba nature within. Singabe Puma Pan. Bahlale phakathi baphrase bapresente ithi ukuthi bafunani kuyina ukuthi challenge but within. So if acted as a broad church like that, we can even extend it. Kulamanye single issue campaigns. Green thing. Yeah, if you have green, come to ZAPU and do your green thing inside. Okay?
You know, in the green issues in our manifesto.
So if you feel about from the approach point of view.
This is going to be a discussion. Just what we are here. We're saying, we're leaving this place. We want to actually have that exponential growth that has been spoken about, of 83 turning to 968 in 10 months is what happened. And it's happened before under very challenging circumstances. We're saying, what are we taking from here? When another meeting is called, instead of having, oh, by the way, you are 11th and we needed one more and would have been the 12 apostles of Christ. Oh, so 12, we are 12, okay, the 12 of us. But anyway, you made our day by doing that. We want to a proper takeaway. I hope that Corporate Chair somebody is taking these ideas. When we are isolated where we are, and you're saying, I've got to go here, coming, a neighbor for them to be attracted to ZAPU, they will say, why ZAPU out of the 155? What is it that you got? What's the X factor that you're calling me into your party for? And we've got to actually have that. Because people assume we are Zimos, you know what I mean? People don't. And that is what, as leaders, we've got to be arguing. Now, the next one is going to be a very, very short one, I hope. And then afterwards, I'll show you the organogram and actually tell you about the communication systems of ZAPU. Part of the reason that you find we've got problems like this is because we have got systems, we have got people are going on the football field and playing, there are no rules. Everybody does what they want. That is what we've got to, yeah. The next is just, I'm going to say 2 minutes discuss. And then for our Council of Elders, for our chair. Okay. Great misdemeanors. People are doing something. Let me give, there are 2 examples. One of them is a real one. Some of you will remember. The chair of the province does something that is completely unacceptable. The second, which you can discuss, is people are misbehaving on platforms. What should, because one thing that makes people to come in the door and go out is they come into the house and found you know what I mean? Yeah? Yes. What do we do as a party? What are the steps that we should? Could you take 2 minutes, because afterwards I want to present the organogram. The chair wants to give questions to ask, because there are things that you brought which you actually... Okay. Could you, sorry?
Working with that person by that time and taking the case to the Council of the Elders. You might guide me if I...
Yeah, the thing we had, based on the example that you put, is that if there is an issue, there has to be an accused and an accuser. An accuser is the one their allegations to the correct platform, which is the correct platform according to our constitution. So we have to say it is the Council of Elders. They will do their due process. But now, so we see about that division when it comes to e-online and e-online miscommunication and disrespect and breaking of our rules and protocols of ZAPU. Because online I can disrespect you. So how much are they weighing it to you've went against our constitution. So do we send every WhatsApp message to the Council of Elders or do we separate the two? But those who break rules and procedures as a constitution, correct platform is the Council of Elders, which is the investigator and the disciplinary.
Okay. Let me actually, for time, and as I said, what I'm talking about now is just about the structuring, the governance of ZAPU. We have had, as the presidency, and I was tasked with this, we would to come with a policy, and to come with a policy governing social media is almost an impossible task to do. But people say the Council of Elders is the disciplinary structure. Yes and no. The Council of Elders is in the primary step an advisory group. If there is a misbehavior, let us say people actually, obviously with the social media and people actually appeal to the admin, yeah, this person is misbehaving here. And then there's a contestation because what the administrator of the social, whatever it is, that platform, will be very subjective. Constitution, they'll just use their own judgment. As my chair said here, somebody was removed without due process. What then happens, the feeling for the presidency is that if somebody feels that the admin is not actually acting in an appropriate way, let's task our Council of Elders with the evidence somebody is saying this, somebody is disrespectful, but the admin should be because it is something. It is a personal issue. I noticed there's something that's terribly wrong about ZAPU. Official communication now seems to be going through social media. You can't do that.
That's true.
True. You see, people say, you see with NPC platform, somebody said, I told you with whatever. That's not where it should be, because if you go to our social platforms, there are only 5 or 6 people. But when you're talking about things that are going to do with policy, it's got to be much better than that. So, okay, somebody is misbehaving or the admin themselves are misbehaving. The thing has got to be put to the Council of Elders to advise.
How about if it's someone in the Council of Elders?
Huh?
How about if it's someone in the Council of Elders?
Absolutely. We're coming to the situation of the chief executive, the executive here. Anybody comes here, misbehaves, they will come, because the Council of Elders are not making up the rules. I had the most dreadful situation where the Council of Elders, I went to Elder Kuzenezem, that was 2011, there was a case here, and the Council of Elders had made a determination, which I thought was quite odd, and the way they're communicating it was odd as well. And I said to them, you have arrived at this. That was very quick. DD used to say, justice delayed is just justice denied. So it was good that they actually, Martin, which parts of the disciplinary code did you actually sort of look at? What did we know? And then I said, who constitution? Oh, you're who constitution? You get the point. You get the point. So the Council of Elders, the workshopping must be that they actually get the opportunity to go through the what is it, how they are empowered, so that they are not afraid if the chair is misbehaving as what actually happened. So long as you're following the constitution, that's the guy judgment. Yeah? And one of the things, so that we are together on this, so that we are together on this. When a case is brought to the Council of Elders, it's no. We can't be discussing that case on our platforms. If you discuss a case that's before the Council of Elders, you are disciplinable yourself. Let us give our Council of Elders, Ubawumwirini ended up ditching Israel because a case will be brought there and people start attacking him. You know what I mean? We can't do that. The chair, by the way, I'm coming now to what I was actually sent to do, and what the roles are. Chair, if I didn't, I think I should have sent you what the roles are. Just send you the roles. Oh, yeah. The roles of the chair. Now, and okay, I'll end up with this. When I went to one of the provinces that was working really well was South Africa province. When I got there, the first thing I said to them, if I come to South Africa, I come to the province, and the province is not growing, I go to the PEC. You have a responsibility to make you've got to employ every strategy. You've got to find what the needs of the people are, and then deal with them. If I find this is what perhaps as NPC will have to actually look at, that people do not know the rules that you have in the party, I go to the NPC. You've got to know the rules, you've got to know how the policies are actually sort of constructed, and that's the NPC. You've got to be actually sort of on top of, if there's an election process, the NPC has got to be involved because you are the one that is actually sort of approving and vetting the candidates. Yes?
I'm sorry, I think Pablo is coming for 10 minutes, as I said.
Okay. And I'm finishing now. And then, if let us say there is no discipline, is the Council of Elders. If we can actually, as leaders, absolutely respect that is structuring, then we got it, man. Let me just, to make sure that we are not embarrassed, that is, have you all seen nobody's not seen the organogram of the party? This organogram, have you seen it?
No.
Okay, the organogram is saying that the three main pillars of the governance of ZAPU are the National Council of Elders, who are our judiciary, an advisory structure. If there are things that are not platforms, anything. By the way, the Council of Elders, if there is a misbehavior, the Council of Elders don't rush around the person and catch with you when they're not the police. Somebody has got to report. There is a case in point of somebody who's gone and actually represented ZAPU. The Council of Elders cannot go and arraign that person. It's the executive that has got to go and say, Council of Elders, there is something that is actually sort of been done which is wrong. And the Council of Elders have got their sort of column, and if they're not sure, they go to the NDC, the National Disciplinary Committee. They are the ones that they will be discussing how do we handle this case? What are the parts of the Constitution that have actually been breached? There is the executive led by the presidency. We, the presidency, are subject to the rules that the Council of Elders, if we misbehave, if I come here ngenze ngikhulume into engayisiyo, uchair will know ukuthi kona I was going to present something that would not be, somebody going to report me to say I don't agree entirely with the organogram as it stands, but I can't come and change it here. A change of organogram, just like the change in Ilokuzama colors a party, is a Congress issue. Nobody can come and say, and what time did I say change like that? Everything, what the chair as the executive is responsible for is to ensure that nobody goes and reproduces Ilokuza artifacts in party without permission from the chair. Chagalisa, do you remember Chagalisa?
I know Chagalisa, yeah.
Chagalisa was actually our part, he was so good, the guy was. He was actually sort of ropes in, and I'm not happy about it, but it actually sort of ropes in the executive as well. There's a big error there, but we can't change it. That's what we are. We are the legislators, we are the people that actually sort of determine what are the rules governing a party. We are the, sorry, we are, what is it? You want me to use that instead, okay? Okay. No, well, if you want me to actually sort of stand up,
no, okay.
I was told to actually, okay, if we come there, okay, so that's the problem. Now, what we got there, we got the National Council of Elders, advisory, disciplinary. If we're not sure of anything, we should come to you. And if you're not sure of anything, you go to the Constitution. Now, we've got the presidency and the executive, the NEC. Those there, the presidency will sit really as the pinnacle of the NEC. And what we do is we are running the party on a day-to-day basis. If there are issues to be decided about that, blah, 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 it is that presidency. But if, let's say, somebody is not happy with we've exceeded what we should do, we can be reported to the National People's Council. The National People's Council, as far as what the party standards, the protocols, whatever, is we are subservient to the NPC. I'll finish and then come to just the province. Maybe you won't know it was just before you. There was this. There were people going to their branches in their district in London. And then they would argue, have an argument with people over an issue. And then what they would say is that, yeah, we are born with you are winning in majority lap. I'm not taking off he had to be a member of the branch. I'm not putting it on the NPC head. I'm telling you to do that. They can't do that. NPC works as a group, just like the Council of Elders. Umasiziba angel like that. I hate when I'm going like that. I'm putting on my head sandwiches. They do it as a whole. You come with your group. Now, I've just really to finish, and I think that the chair, I thought he was going to actually touch on that because that really is very much his baby. It is how our PEC actually is structured. That we have. Yeah.
I'm just wondering why the presidents and the secretary general are together with the NEC.
No, you know, the presidency is because the presidency is actually the inner cabinet that actually sort of, we are the ones that drive whatever happens in the NEC. It's just like you've got a cabinet and the inner cabinet. Yeah?
Include the presidents.
Yeah. Sorry?
The presidency and the secretary general.
Yeah.
I think
No. It is how the information comes to the presidency. Everything has got to be filtered through the secretary general.
Okay.
Are you with me? If you look at this first section of Ilokuza, ESG, is that's the CEO. That's where things have been falling so terribly apart. Where you're finding the Secretary General is talking to an individual and things like that. It should not happen like that. The Secretary General has got nothing to do with what is happening in the PEC in Europe. It's got to go through the it's got to go through Ilokozo admin with the chair copied into it. The SG has got nothing to do with you want to communicate with Nsumila. It's not the right thing. If we do that, we destroy ourselves. You know what I mean? Everything has got to be channeled the right way. Nothing comes from this province to the presidency to, when I'm here, I'm not here actually, I can't say I'm in the presidency, therefore I'm telling you that we work as a group. We work as but the coordinating, you can see that the Council of Elders as well points to the Secretary General. Not that they are actually subservient to the Secretary General, but information.
All right. If maybe singawuthatha ngokuthi ama positions anama powers or authority it is or ama levels of authority. I-President no Secretary General compared to NEC gumi kanjani in terms of hierarchy.
The President and the Secretary General have got no authority of except Secretary General is the communicating, coordinating, doesn't have powers individually to do anything other than actually relaying information. And anything that is decided and comes out from I as the Secretary General should actually be coming from the presidency. Yeah, the presidency has got to be agreed about what is happening. I'm not saying that things have not been done, but the Constitution requires that it be. Because if the Secretary General puts out something and somebody comes and says to me, what is this? I've got to be able to answer that. Because that's covering my SG. Immediately, the SG has put out something and I say I don't know it, it weakens the party. You get the point? We really have got to guard that. Let me finish here. Okay, this is my dear, South Coast has got, is favored. Now, we've got now the province. When I saw this, we got skills in ZAPU, as Mangalisa. You know, if we use the skills that we have, we can easily actually be the governing body of that. But you would, I think of what we're doing, like I want to I'm a primary school children. I don't know if anybody has already taught in primary school. There's so much energy, but that energy doesn't build a house. Because everybody's running that way, and things like that. There is so much talent, which if it was honed and directed the way that it should, is nothing. But we are not following our own systems, and everybody is an individual. I will tell those that I thought there were going to be more people. I have absolutely no intentions of either being SG or the president and things like that. I simply want to see our party move. But every time you open your mouth, people actually are looking at Uraf rather than looking at the message. And this, fortunately, I'm giving you what we actually acquired over 30 days of training. Now, that was what we had to do a case scenario like that and actually doing how you would solve it. And that's I think I've got to be able to impart. By the way, the province is the chair, unfortunately. The chair, if the province is dragging, at the end is at the feet of the chair. It doesn't mean which chair does everything. Which chair is the person that whips everybody. I don't know if you remember, Obega used to complain when I'm WFU. Because what we would be making would actually be saying, we make a decision on Saturday and I'm chasing him on Monday. How far have you gone? The province is the chair. I've given Amar Rose, who actually really makes some decisions that have got to do with the executive functions, not the disciplinary. If a chair starts to say, I want to discipline this person, that's not their role. If we chair then somebody is misbehaving, I've got to report it. It doesn't matter who it is. If we just say, we actually followed what is ZAPU, what ZAPU wants. You remember I said, Out of the 155 parties, there is no party that has got into NGO. Everybody seems to have this sort of, the center is, all the power is with Unangazwa. All the power. In ZAPU, people have got to see the distinct. It's the institutions that are important. It's what we've said about how we run our party that makes us different. But unfortunately, too often, we are not different from the others because we do what everybody do. Usman Elizabeth said this, my cousin, by the way. He said that, and everybody is going to follow. Even if he is actually stepping into what is called the disciplinary area, that's not where it should be. Comrades, I've taken much more than I thought I was going to be 30 minutes. I've gone about 40 minutes. But Mrs. Ziba took my time as well. Thank you so much.
I will give you a chance to sit.
As well as
5-minute question time. You can come back. It's a quick question because I was one or two questions. It's the end. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mkuni, for presenting. I think from your session, there are a number of things that I take into account. I think one of them was the way you did things the ZAP way. In ZAP, we don't take the hold which was one. We, the members, say things. By involving us the way you did, you showed that this comes from us. How do we discipline ourselves? How do we particularly members can create contribution to that? And also, something that's important about people cannot and how things work. Because sometimes we just they make exactly what people who are was looking at and thinking, how come the SG is sitting there, the president is sitting there? Does that mean the president is
so, presidency.
Two presidency.
Oh.
The way it was looking at diagram, you think, who is the mandate is about? But when you interpret that as to make it easy to understand. I don't know whether when they look at that, it's easy to just look at it and say, okay, no. But thank you for that. Now, because of in the interest of time, let us ask a few questions. I will say two questions to the different members. Okay? What of the question? Full comment.
Social media. The Council of Elders important at me social media where changes interesting. And going at our provinces, the class organizer, I'm a set up a city evolution to set up a committee within themselves, like 3 people, 4 people. They are very before we have a council of elders.
What did I learn, sorry?
Issues with social media. Issues about social media. Before we have a council of elders. Because I'm a council of elders, the decision here is scared. Sometimes, when they would special education would take in there, because the man they commit, as we every senses every day, and as I'm here, my council of elders, so call it. Work to grow the church. See, at least in Chinese, my mistake with social media, some too many my council of elders. I have a committee and within the PDC, always was with the organized. Then when I feel in a committee, let's say, yes, I repeat 3 to 4 people. In a few then committee, there's another council of elders. I'm going to let justice.
If I can just actually quickly say that, remember, if province has got the authority to actually set up any structures they think are quite helpful to themselves, subject to that being communicated to the province. They are in knowledge that this is happening. And by the way, there's nothing that stops within each platform. There's a Europe platform, you're setting up that sort of situation. But lastly, remember the Council of Elders are not there to expel people. They first and foremost are in an advisory capacity. And also remember also, when you are referred to the Council of Elders, it doesn't mean that you're guilty. It means that they've got to look at and then actually sort of check against. But what you're saying, the Comrade DSG, that's completely legitimate. It doesn't mean legislation. You are on a social platform and therefore you think that we're going to have people that are going to deliberate on issue, but then, and then you can escalate it. It doesn't. Yeah, that is completely unsettled and it doesn't need to go for any approval by any structure other than the PEC being in the number.
Thank you. I would like to correct myself. I said two questions, that was wrong. I would like 6 questions from the floor. It depends who is most appropriate to answer the question.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
My third was question is diaspora vote. You touched on it in policy manifesto as well. Now, personally, I've always been skeptical in diaspora vote. This is discounting active soldiers, diplomats. So, I want to Zimbabwe diaspora vote.
Because it's not
For
as...
question. Okay. No, his question, if I can add, we know every country, especially the most developed countries, they like to have their pie and eat it too. So knowing that, even in my city that are in power, if we give powers to these people, tomorrow, say a regime change, will that be nice?
What do you mean? I'm not following.
I'm meaning, let's say, if France, if we made it diaspora vote, do you think the Democrats, the powers of Mali will be decided in Mali, or will it be decided in France?
No. What happens is this. So this policy is not an isolated policy. They right to vote. For example, when we talk about giving Zimbabweans the right to cast a vote for an election in Zimbabwe, it doesn't mean our political parties in Zimbabwe have access to campaign to that electorate that's in the UK or in France. So if a party in Mali has got citizens in France, there's absolutely nothing that will stop them from sending their messages to those electorate that are going to vote in France. What you said, diaspora vote isn't that
because Mvotela a certain candidate is Zimbabwe. He candidate Leana I affect whatever he does. He's affected that person on the ground. Yeah. And I'm not on that ground that this change is gonna happen. So as a diaspora, I'm a contributor in another way than he vote. And I think he votes like that. I think he.
So let me. This one is a strange question for me. Let me tell you why I find it strange.
Yeah.
So you are here. It's not going to affect you. How many of your relatives are in the UK? How many of your relatives are in Zimbabwe? How many of those relatives in Zimbabwe do you support or do you wish you could support? So, if you're given an opportunity to choose a responsible government and you use your vote to elect a responsible government, you know that, forget Israel second. When you have a car, you know if there's a responsible government, your children are going to have access to healthcare. You understand what I mean? Your children, if you decide, hey, I've had enough of being an immigrant, I want to go back and live at home, You know your children will have access to good education. You know that your children and yourself can live in a free society. Social media. So you need to have those assurances that are beyond just your immediate self. You understand what I mean? You've got to think about it as in a holistic way. I think we benefit a lot if we've got a responsible government. But what you say is, how about if diasporans, if a government comes and say, look, diaspora, vote for us, we'll give you so much, even though those people can end up being irresponsible. ZAPU PF has got the funding to campaign for people to vote for him. So, they've got that funding to do that. And they've got a lot of members here. If you'd be surprised if how many people can come out and tell you what our members is ZAPU PF. CCC is a good example. They've got hundreds of thousands of members. We know their leader is anti-constitutional. He does not have a constitutional body even. We know their leader is a tribalist. All his actions that he's done show completely and utterly that he's got no respect for other tribes.
So, as Chair, can I just interject?
A quick addition to I will be really something. I was part of actually of the writing of my diary, my right about Ladywood. It comes from here, you are Zimbabwean, you have your rights. We have nearly 5 million Zimbabweans that are sort of in exile, one way or other. Why are you depriving them of a voice? They are emitting whatever. You can't be expecting people to pay but not actually giving them a voice. When you say the diasporian vote, don't think what is the block. We are part of what is happening in Zimbabwe. I can't see anybody saying, let me vote for a wrong party so that we fight them. Everybody's got right. The people in the army, in the armed forces, live outside. The people in the diplomatic have that. And why deprive? It's just the right of somebody to express an opinion about how they want the country to be governed. For their
but they're not living in that.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that's my problem. They're not living in that.
Okay. Anyway, I think that would be.
As Chairman, I'm going to make a ruling. I think it's an interesting point. If we are here, we can discuss it with the NPC thing. I can aid you temporarily. We can discuss this point. If in the interest of time, let's take another question. Your views are quite interesting. Like you said you find them a bit strange, but they're quite interesting. We are not closing this question. It's going to be an ongoing question. Does anybody have a different question? I have one. Mine is the Council of Elders is advisory, right? They will sit and advise. This person has breached this aspect, and this is what we recommend.
From the party, they cannot take that decision. It's got to be taken at the national.
Okay. Right. Okay, I think I have an answer.
Follow-up question. What's the maximum suspension? If there isn't, can there be one?
There is. I think we tend to look at something like that. If somebody is suspended for more than a year, we're now going on to. Actually, no, we have had in South Africa 2 years. They can impose that 2 years, but then beyond that, then it's now going to, because remember, a lot of people that have been, if they love the party, if they're suspended for 2 years, they can appeal it and then it can be reduced. I think all locals that there are quite a few gangland or Casper, some of them actually sort of even got to national saying this is too severe, reduce it to just 6 months. Yeah?
Okay.
We've had 2 years. I don't know if there's any further than that.
Yes. My question in Council of Elders, you mentioned you got some numbers and you called people to come and join the Council of Elders. Right. So is that how the Council of Elders, is it, how do you form the Council of Elders? Where do those people, are they just ordinary members, or is that in the name, which is someone who should have served this long minimum before they can be in that?
The Council of Elders, they come from the district and the branches.
So it's just ordinary members?
No, it is all the people who have mostly turned 60, above 60, whereby I myself, I can attract any member to come to the Council of Elders because I didn't reach that stage, but I volunteered to, as I was asked by my district.
So again, it's any member of the N60. So you don't have to have served in the party for this long, as long as you are above that age range.
And you're a member.
And you're a member.
Right, I think because of Elders Christian, I spoke to Siziba as well after I spoke to you some time ago. The way Siziba was explaining it was, take the case of ZAPU. You can be a chairman of whatever you are, but you're a member of ZAPU. So what he was trying to say was that when you reach a certain age criteria from a party, and you qualify to become the Council of Elders, his view was it should be taken the same way. Only as a Council of Elders was you are still whatever you are in the party, but you're part of the Council of Elders. I think the distinction becomes which I guess the Council of Elders is the executive. Not everyone in the Council of Elders is in the executive. Second, we should have Council of Elders in the districts. That's where it starts from. Sufficient members reach an age in the district, you are right to say, are you happy to be our district council of elders? They could help you do those things. That's my understanding of it.
And you're right. Remember, what you call the districts should have their own council of elders. The names for council of elders at national, at provincial, come from the districts. So when you identify it in Awan, there's a figure and you want to sort of proper names to them. Then we have got what is called the provincial council of elders who go by election, you know what I mean, yeah? Then they elect their own structure after that.
Okay,
question is about ngakwazi ukuthi ngayibeka ngithini cabanga ngozwisisa ukuthi as a party ZAPU sile right yokufire a member of the party if, let's say, somebody misbehave or doesn't, somebody is been sent to a council of elders who want to cooperate, and then do we have the powers of firing that person?
I think it's already said. If it's a suspension, it can be done. But if it's an expulsion, it has to be done by national.
It's national.
Yeah.
And also remember,
I like
talking about recalling. I think it's a stronger word. And also there's a video. Are you talking about maybe recalling your member if they're not performing at a particular level?
I'm talking about just
fire.
Just the person to go and then never come to the party. Or you're not supposed to be in the party.
Okay.
Can we do that?
So apparently, given what we read today, we can't take a decision only as a province. I suppose we can make a recommendation to national level. Yes, page A, B, C, D. In our view, according to the Constitution of the Council of Elders, this necessitates national strike. For example, we join another member of another political party, you kind of fire yourself. That recommendation can be made in the chapter of the party.
Or we can lecture that person to the protocols of the party that this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is what's supposed to be done, this is what's supposed to follow.
Yeah.
But we cannot expel you.
The national level, they can, and
when they've done what?
If whatever reason, an expellable breach, it's national level that can do that.
It is a national level. You cannot actually.
We can make our recommendations.
You go through our council of elders, and then afterwards, after the council of elders, then actually, if this breach is big enough, then they escalate it to the NDC, and then at the NDC, then an expulsion comes. But at the NDC, there's also an appeal division. You know what I mean? If the member still is not happy with the decision that has been taken there, they can appeal it. And then afterwards, it's final.
Thank you.
I don't think that Mr. Boda asked this question, but I wonder if he did finish or his question actually, or he had withheld the piece of it, whereby we want Babu Mukulu to help us answer that. You were saying about the member, and you said there's a limbo of a certain...
Yeah, I feel there's a situation where it's in limbo, where a decision was made.
Yeah.
The Council of Elders made that decision. Now, whether that was implemented or implementable,
it was.
That decision was done.
But the person is misbehaving more.
I think it's concluded, that issue.
Okay.
It's definitely concluded. But, you know, I think what you're saying is grounds for appeal, that sort of procedure. That one, I don't know if the Council of Elders will give that, but I think that's exhausted as well, yes?
If it was concluded, but this person hasn't done anything that is damaging the party so far.
You mean?
Sorry.
If
somebody has actually been suspended, whether they damage the party or not, they do not participate in party activities. Period. That is, if let us say they still are doing that, then you actually sort of get in touch with the National Council of Elders. What is happening? And if it still is not working, then it's got to be also communicated to the SG. Then it becomes the presidency and the executive sort of deal with the Council of Elders that are not acting.
Yeah.
A decision that you make has got to be firm. Lingaba flexible like this, you will actually sort of not get a discipline that you want.
At this moment, we like, as the chair is saying, I will be talking about the different cases.
Shall we possibly sort of leave that and then make something full as, because otherwise we will be sort of discussing an issue that should be confidential.
I think what we can say, I think there are two things from my point of view in terms of discipline. One is disciplining and being firm about that discipline. Always in line, knowing which people do take it into direction. The other one is if someone breaches and we ignore it and we talk about it in passing, we are giving that person an idea that either was toothless or actually what I was doing was just mourning, but I was right. Okay? So I think we need to be careful about armor breaches. Let's do something about it.
One more question. Right, you mean Garubam?
It's been up for a while over that side.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's be brief. Answers. You first,
right, I think the two questions. Manifesto my question is, how can you protect that to make sure that I do not eat on doing a party and use it? Is at the moment you are not that in full force, like what can I say? One is against on a party and they benefited in that. And you manifesting the way when a corner, if a minor party and I 20 I-7s, I think they can really hit hard and high. Or the mark is up in 80 SCG at the moment. Which is not celebrated, is good to party if in a structure S7s. So at the moment, how can you secure it?
I don't think you can really patent this.
Okay, number one. Number two, but my question is, it's not ZAPU original, but I think I'm going to unit accord. And then I think what was separate, or not. So was that issue being solved or not? Why ngibuza ngoba uyabona ukuhamba uyeyakha indlu yakho uyakhe kulendi yomunye umuntu okulendi iphepha wakhe yonke ingekho right kuyakwanisa ukuthi indlu yakho isiphelele babe bakugezisa.
No, that was sorted. That's why you saw that we managed to even contest in these elections as recognized parties. So that one is concluded.
So,
ZAPU exists, it's fine. It is a legitimate party now outside the Unity Accord arrangement.
Okay. Why ngibuza njalo? Silabantu abafana nabo Mohati owayekuZAPU enda.
Yeah.
Right. So now where is he standing?
You spoke about this earlier, didn't you?
So that's why ngibuza i-question nje ngoba ngama-questions ababuzayo and abantu are not sure ukuthi
we can take this question.
Quickly, all of those are manifesto. You know what I mean? Is ZAPU, if you look at it, and we've got to hold Congress every 5 years. Those people who are Uzan, they don't actually hold the ZAPU Congress, so they finish membership is gone. You know what I mean? They do not belong. They will use the word name ZAPU only to actually, they are ZAN, whatever it is, ZANU PF. That's where they belong. That's the simplest. I know there's a contestation that there's a legal, illegal, called the People's Congress. And the People's Congress decided it is time. That's what determined for them to go in, and therefore we went out. But we can't spend a lot of time there acting nuances.
No, but sorry, yeah. Why is it like that? Or like Mohati is there as a deputy president under the ticket of ZAPU. But he's not a ZAPU member.
Well,
no, it's not really under the ZAPU. What they say now is representing, it's a regional thing for them. It's no longer under ZAPU.
I think what they say that with what the Congress decided, they would have stayed there. That's rubbish. Obviously, anybody will use any advantage, but everybody, as the chair has said, if you actually are contesting with a name that is actually been accepted by electoral Isaac, it means that we are a live entity. But we can talk about that at some other stage because it's kind of But thank you very much for raising that issue.
Yeah, manifesto, we can't patent the manifesto. This phenomenon, even UK. Jerome Corbyn was by manifesto in But this by two characters, West Countries, Victoria situation, which is section here, who's a lay become the same copy. Who wouldn't have said Liberal Democrats, Green Party, no party has not stolen elements of the manifesto that copy. Yeah, so again, Zagara, we can't stop it. Tina energy treat is to sell our manifesto as it is now. I don't think a lot of people have read it, even in our own party. I know which Nakara pass. Even among portfolio holders, with the manifesto is section 80. The thing I can tell you to go and read today, please go and read on the parallel to accord. It was a brilliant piece that was put in there in the manifesto.
Okay, I think chairperson usuke ngiambile. Hayi umbuzo wami uya ku chair we province. Okay. Mr. Chair, the chairperson of the Council of Elders gave you an advice. She was saying that people do think that you are invisible within the province. And
is that we are invisible, I am invisible?
You are invisible.
Right.
So that, I think, it also leads to your executive being invisible as well. Right. So I just want to understand how you feel and what you think about that.
If I have to be brutally honest, I thought that was the inappropriate forum to platform that statement. Because we do share common platforms. She's a member of the PEC. She's also a member of, she also has got a direct contact to myself. I've got an open door policy. But when it comes to visibility, I think sometimes this question has been raised before. And I don't know if people actually read my responses Because sometimes I think people can form an opinion and there's nothing you can say to change that opinion. This was raised and I explained the chronology of my time in office. Within days of our election, the Zimbabwean election was announced. I was drafted into the war room. There was a lot of, I had to take time off my real job to work on the ZAPU election material. That's how busy I was. We've got the deputy chair here. He can explain to you the plans that we had. This meet the people thing is the thing that we had planned. I'm not shying away from meet people. I'm a people person. So we had to shelve those plans. We're going to reschedule it. I didn't say to Mnangagwa, schedule the election at such a time. We're now going into a post-election period. Everyone is exhausted from the election. Well, those that participated in working on that election are completely politically fatigued. But we've resumed our cabinet meetings. We are going to discuss how we can make this happen. There are so many things we have to consider. Number one, the finances to make this happen. We did remittance quite a lot of our finances to the national team for precisely the election purposes. We are a political party. Our purpose is elections. If we can't fund elections, why are we here? Do you know what I mean? So we pushed a lot of our finances that direction. We've got to sit down with the treasurer. The treasurer has been tasked looking at our books and giving us a budget with which we can work with. Once that process is complete, we can plan activities, we can plan events. We want to meet the people. It's not just me, by the way. We're talking about the presidency. So sometimes leadership is looked at as an isolated position. I don't see myself that way. I see myself as a member of a collective in the PEC. I don't think people want to meet me only. They should meet the deputy chair, they should meet portfolio holders, they should know that if there's a welfare issue, who do they go to? If there's an admin issue, who do they go to? You know, all the different portfolios, people should know who they are. Because when people know you, they endear themselves to you. They identify with the party. I'm all for meeting the people. I hope the question is
okay, because I thought this was going to give you an opportunity to really explain, particularly your involvement with the elections back home. Because people don't know that you were so much involved. You see?
I don't know if for me to tell you that I was working in the election war room is not enough. If you want me to produce an item on the list of the duties that I carried out, then to me...
it's enough.
Yeah, you know,
for me, it's fine. Okay. I do understand. I think people will...
But you're speaking on behalf of the people that don't know how to plan. Right. I think we're running out of time. So if you're going to be brief question, brief answer.
Just to say thank you so much, Chair, for hearing that you were so much involved in the elections back home. However, as we felt we were left outside, or if you are saying that you were involved, because you left us behind. As you left us behind, the reason I'm saying that, normally when we are having elections back home, the chair of the province announces to everybody to pump out the funds, especially those who are in the positions, £50 per person, those other individuals, £20 per person, for the money to be made to be sent home. But this year it didn't happen. So I don't know how we went
I wouldn't have done that, because I don't think if you are elected into a position, you should be taxed for being in that position.
It's not being taxed.
It is a tax on a person. So how about if a person puts their hand out to say, I want to be a member of a portfolio, and that person can afford to contribute that kind of money. We put out and it verges on being offensive, that we actually put out through the Secretary for Information and Publicity. We put out an advert for an election fund. It's the same thing. If we say, look, we've got an election fund, it wasn't approved, it was put many, many times. I can open it, now it's still there. If you go back in the history, the election fund campaign, can you explain to it?
No, I think
I saw it myself. I saw it on the platform.
I think Chair is going to actually sort of close, but there was an oversight. I know what you're discussing, but now what we missed is we should have a national elections committee set up by the NPC. That is what supervises the function there. It's not necessarily the PEC chair that should be actually doing that. We missed out on that opportunity, but we learned from it. Yeah.
But I think as well, so the timing of the elections came soon after we elected the chair. And there were, I think that time, the timing was not the right time because there was no time in between to discuss.
I didn't even have any hand over
It's how to lead people.
I know. It's tough.
Let's try to make it tough.
Yeah, we'll try.
Please like and share.